Boss, let's start with this. Obviously, you look amazing. You look good. Like, you don't just, you look great. I didn't think you were like, you look good before, but you look great. You got like a good like color to you, especially in the New York snow. How do you feel? I mean, obviously you lost a lot of weight. You lost over 50 pounds during quarantine.
Yeah.
How did you do it exactly?
Well, I just wanted to get healthy. I turned 41 this year, and in COVID, my mom passed away, which was just awful. And we're so close, and so I just was so sad during this time because not only losing her, but like it's just been awful. Everyone's just been going through it, and I just decided that I wasn't going to lose everything during quarantine. I was going to try to gain something. So I tried to gain my health, and I've just been trying to be smart about it, and I feel great. I feel proud, because if you ever struggle with your weight, it's like the first thing people see is like, oh, well, there's Raw, he's put it on, and you can't hide from it. So there's always like a little bit of shame. Anybody who's ever struggled with it gets that. So right now I just feel proud. I want to keep it together. I want to, I don't want to be a mess. I want to look good and feel good.
Well, you look good. What worked for you? Like, everyone always talks about dieting, exercise, like what works for them. Everyone's always struggling to find the answer. What worked for you?
Shame and looking at my naked body in the mirror. No, cooking worked for me because I love food, and I don't want to give up food. So it's about trying to find ways that things still taste good. But, I met with a nutritionist this time, so I learned about food. I make these videos on my social media called Recipes, where it's all about trying to make food taste delicious but be good for you. So that's what it was. It's just taking the reins. And, that's what felt good because we can't control anything these days. It sucks. And so this I found I could control. And that's been empowering. Blah, blah, blah. Enough about my body. No, people don't care.
But what was the craziest thing you've tried to do to lose weight? Have you done any things? I'm sure you've tried some stuff in the past. What's the craziest thing that you've tried in the past?
Do you remember that show, Celebrity Fit Club?
I do remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. So they asked me on like many seasons. This was in the early days when I was just starting on TV, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing that. And then they said, oh, by the way, it pays this much. And I was like, what day do I show up? I had no money in the early days. I wasn't working. I had no contract. I just was, still in college. And I literally got on that show and like starved myself for the weigh-ins and, kayaked against Debrat and Screech and tried to like be, not embarrass myself. And that was the worst diet in the history of time. But I did it and I lost weight, but it was bizarro.
Who was the craziest person on that cast, by the way?
Screech, by far.
What was he like behind the scenes when the cameras went off?
Well, he wasn't great in front of the cameras. And then behind the cameras, I felt kind of bad for him. He had a lot of rage in him. And I think it's because he really resented. I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking of my interpretation of him. He grew up as Screech. So he grew up the laughing stock, right? The dork one, not the hot one. And the one that maybe even when he stopped being Screech, I think maybe he was a punchline whenever he went into a bar or something like that, So he had this like thick skin that the world was against him right away. And I always kind of felt bad for him, but, he wasn't great.
How was that experience for doing the show? Did you enjoy that experience?
No, I didn't enjoy that. It was terrible. It was, it was like, one, I was being weighed in on national television where I was like insecure about my body. Two, like it was early in my career. So these people were like Screech and Maureen McCormick and Tiffany and, they didn't really know who I was. So it was like Celebrity Fit Club and Ross. So it was like, one, I didn't belong. Two, I didn't want to be there. Three, it was like an unhealthy way for me to lose weight. But I just did it for money. True. I mean, what do you want me to lie? I had no money. It was early in the career. They offered a TV show. I was like, okay. In retrospect, I wouldn't do it again, but it was nice to be able to pay my rent.
But what if the money was good? Would you do it again?
Yeah, well, now we're talking on a different level of good money. All right, it depends. It depends.
He's bi-coastal now, okay? He's got some bills to pay.
Well, so. Almost 20 years in the business, it's a different beast. But back then, I mean, I was just graduated college. This is 2003 or something. I just started in 2001 on TV. It was a different time.
But here, let's start from that experience. Was your goal, because you started, I think everyone got to know you as an intern on Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Was your goal to be on camera, or did that just fall into place?
No, it was always my goal. I mean, ever since 7 years old, people say, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to interview celebrities." I used to watch Regis and Kathy Lee back in the day and just think that is the job, man. I mean, they just sit there and talk about their day and then talk to famous people. Sign me up. But I grew up in a little farm town. It's like a gay cartoon version of a human being. I didn't know how to get there, how to do it. So I just, 30 seconds after I graduated high school, I left in my Ford Tempo and I went to college outside LA. And then senior year, lucked into an internship. I worked for free. And when I was there, I had to deliver mail, blah, blah, blah. But I went to every person, from the producer to a writer to the person that pushed the button so the curtain opened and said, how does it work? Tell me, because I love television. I love the puzzle pieces of how it's put together. And that's what's fascinated me always. Being a comedian, not so much. It's not even my thing. I still don't consider myself that. Being a host, making television, that's what I love.
So was it Jay or was it the producers that saw something in you and were like, we need to get you on camera?
Well, I think at first it was a producer and a writer. It was my last day of being an intern. And I write about this in my first book, bestseller, no big deal, Man Up, where I was in charge of getting lunches and I would always steal an extra hamburger and hide it behind a plant and then eat it later. And I thought I was getting in trouble for that. But in fact, a comic had dropped out of covering the Ocean's 11 premiere. And they brought me to the head writer's office and they were like, someone told us you're funny. One of the writers and producers I had talked to, they said, who's funny is Ross in the Hall. They said, we want you to go cover it and talk to George Clooney and all the stars. And I said, what do you want me to ask? And they told me whatever comes into your mind. And I thought I can do that. So I just went and did it. And I remember thinking, oh, this is how it's all going to start, and now it's over 19 years later.
Did you write your own questions for that? First one? Or were you just going to wing it?
It wasn't writing. It was about okay, just trust my gut. I have an encyclopedic knowledge of pop culture. So whoever came up, I knew who they were. I knew what they had done, who they were married to, who they dated. And so I just thought, think of the camera as your best friend and talk to it. Make it laugh, And so that's just how it started.
That's awesome.
So how long were you? So that was the last day of your internship. You get that first on-camera interview and you get to do it. And then right there, did you become a paid person for the show, a paid staff member? How'd that work?
So that was December 6, 2001. And then they said, before that aired, they said, we want you to do another one. And then before that one aired, they said, we want you to go to the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. So I was like, well, I have to ask my professors. And so, they said yes. And I was there covering the Olympics while doing papers and sending it in. And then I got back and I covered the Oscars and then it became a thing, but it took about 2 years, maybe 3 years before I got a contract. So, I would get paid after scale once I joined the union and I would call them and be like, rent is due. Can I do a segment? And they would let me. And the producers really Debbie Vickers was the executive producer and she was so wonderful. She really took me under her wing. And at one point they said, Ross, can you wear something a little nicer? And I was like, can you pay for it? So she gave me, because I'm like, bitch, I went to Old Navy. I got this on clearance and this was a splurge for me. So she gave me a little wardrobe budget. And then eventually I got a contract. And then that's when was when it really took off.
So what was your title?
Well, it was correspondent, and then eventually okay. I became a creative consultant on the show, and so I did that till the end of it. I was there until the very end, until Jay, when he left to the 10 o'clock show, I went, and then when he came back to the Tonight Show, I stayed until the end.
Wow.
Well, one sec before we keep going, are you close to your router? Your video keeps freezing.
So here's the deal. I paid for the really good internet and they're fucking me and I don't know why it's not working. And then I'm using a hotspot now. So the hotspot is undesirable, but the regular Wi-Fi is unreliable. So gotcha. I'm sorry.
Okay. No. All good. I figured I would ask.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. I was on 40 minutes with them.
It is all good. All right. So during your time there, which celebrity do you feel like you became the closest with? Because obviously you're interacting with all these celebs on red carpets and, at Jay's show. Who do you feel like you became closest to?
Well, I mean, a couple. Rosie O'Donnell was always so great to me from the first day. She asked to meet me in her dressing room and then just has always been, she continues to be a great friend. We just FaceTimed the other night. And then I always loved Gwyneth Paltrow And famously, that story's in my book. People know that story where I met her on a red carpet, and I just always wanted to be her best friend. And I gave her my email address, and the next day I got an email from her. And we emailed back and forth for like 6 months before we went to our first lunch. And at that point, she'd become a friend. We had talked about losing our fathers and really about real deep stuff, almost like a journal entry. But when I sat down, I was like, oh my God, it's like, I forgot you were Gwyneth Paltrow. And she said, give it 10 minutes and you'll be over it. And I was. And so we're still great friends. I love her. People give her so much shit, but she's really real deal, good person.
The thing about her is I think she gets, like, she's kind of in on the joke of like the goop and how like crazy it is and the vagina smelling candles. It's like, I think that she is brilliant. You know what I'm saying? Like, she gets the joke and keeps it going to her advantage.
Yeah, I don't know if there's even a joke anymore because I think that company's worth like $1 billion. Well,
that's
so
but because
right?
half these products are kind of like, they're kind of crazy, like a vagina smelling candle. Like, you kind of have to be in on it if that is your candle, right?
Well, honey, it's not my candle, so, and I don't want that candle. So, but yes, I think she knows how to make noise. Right?
Exactly. That's what I think. It's the making noise. It's making headlines. It's making yourself even more profit at the end of the day.
Exactly. I mean, she's just done it, and she's brilliant. When you meet her, she's just so on top of it, so smart, and she's just kind of good at everything, which is annoying / completely inspiring. Because I want to be like that when I grow up.
Yeah. So you're on the Tonight Show. You're a correspondent. Were agents and managers reaching out to you then, or were you represented at the time?
Yeah. It took about a year or so, right when I came back for the Olympics. And then what I think a lot of people thought, and maybe even people on the show thought, oh, this will be a fun gimmick that'll run out. But to me, I was like, no, this is the start, but I knew I had to do more than just that show if it was going to have any longevity. I needed them to not call me the intern forever because I was, like getting to my late 30s. I was on the show and they were still calling me the intern. And then I knew I had to start doing some other TV shows. So part of that was the Fit Club show. And then I started on Chelsea Lately and doing the red carpets. And that's when things really changed for me. That's when it went from Ross the intern to like Ross Mathews, and publicists started knowing me and trusting me, and that it was going to be solid. So then I started getting great big interviews. And then, that was the shift for me.
And you've been a panelist on so many shows. So like, what do you feel like is the trick to really lock those gigs down? Because you clearly know exactly what you're doing.
Well, I think you have to deliver. I think you have to be, it's just like any other gig in the entire world, right? You have to be on time. You got to be easy to work with. You got to be nice to everybody. And you got to be, you have to deliver. I think the reason I keep getting hired on things is because I'm never a problem. They don't need to worry about me. They can they say, oh, Ross is here, check. We don't have to check on him 9 million times. We don't have to produce him too hard. And you start getting to know all these producers in the industry, and then they produce that show, and then they hire you for this show, and then they hire you for that show. And I think that's how it works. It's just about breaking and improving yourself.
Do they ask you to like agree? Is it with, you're on a panel, is it smart to agree with everyone or disagree or stick to your guns? Like, everyone's saying yes just for TV. Do you want to say no? Like, how does that work?
I don't think about it. I just say what I think, right? And so I think, of course, it's better when people disagree, because I think contention is way more interesting than consensus. And so, but I don't produce it like that. I wouldn't give a critique, like on Drag Race, for example. If we're all praising one contestant, I wouldn't give a poor critique just because I think the show needs to have differing opinions. It's got to be authentic. At the end of the day, you can tell when you're watching something it's not authentic. I roll all the time. I hate watch TV all the time because they make some real shitty TV. But when it's good, when these people mean it, when they're authentic, I think that's great TV.
Well, what's the show that you cringe watching the most?
I'm not gonna say. But I mean, I watch them all. I watch a lot of really, truly shit TV. And we all.
Oh my God, of course. We all have those shows that you just watch. You're just like, how is this thing on air? Like, I don't even understand.
Like, competition shows where they're so cheesy. I do also eye roll at hosts who are like so schmaltzy and inauthentic and old school. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to go into anyone in particular, but yeah.
Do you enjoy going on shows like The View? Like, is that a fun one or is that an intimidating one?
Well, The View is a very specific show, and I have done The View a lot, and I write about it in my second book, Name Drop, about my experiences on The View. I love The View. I love doing The View. I love watching The View. But behind the scenes, I mean, famously, was in the past at least, has not been a real harmonious place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could definitely sort of feel that vibe when you were there back then.
Like you could feel the tension between the hosts and stuff when you're walking through there, or just on air?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you could, and talking to the producers, and even in the vibe in the meetings and the vibes in the hallway. I don't know how it is now, but that was certainly my experience. You know, when you walk into a room and people are uneasy or angry or fighting, you can feel that energy, right? Whether it's a workplace or a family dinner, you know that feeling when you walk in. You're like, "What's going on?"
Yeah,
that's what it felt. That's what it felt like.
I don't understand why it would be like that. Is it just that there's competitiveness, or is it just people want to be on air? It's just people talking. I don't understand.
Well, they
why
also pick, women that have very strong opposite opinions. So I think there's also that they choose that because they want the kind of controversy on air. Would you agree, Russ?
I don't know. I mean, I'm on a lot of shows where I have different opinions than other people, and I think we leave it on the stage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there was something about the framework of the production that sort of bred that energy. I don't know who, I don't know, because individually I liked them all, you know. I met them all and liked them, but there was something going on, and I don't know the answer, but someone's in charge.
I was gonna say, you were pretty close to being the first male host on The View.
Yeah.
How close were you to getting that job?
Well, as I write in Name Drop, I mean, legitimately, I was doing the show, not thinking I was auditioning until I was told that I was. And then I was told, you know, we've decided on you. And so we're going to tell the network tonight that, you know, Sherry, Jenny, Whoopi, Bill Getty, we've all decided that we want you. So we're going to, and I was like, oh my God, get ready to move to New York. And I was on a plane going home. And I as I write in the book, I splurged on Wi-Fi on the plane because, hello, I'm like host of The View now. I can afford it. And of course, I went to TMZ, and the top story was, you know, clean house at The View, Jenny, Sherry, Bill Getty, all fired. And I was like, what? So that meeting they were going into with ABC to tell them we want Ross, that meeting was a different meeting. It was ABC telling them, who's Ross, and we don't want you. And so that happened.
So just like that, it just stopped. All the communication stopped.
Yeah, I never heard from them again. And I was on, and I haven't been on again. And I was, you know, 30,000 feet in the air.
I think we all have those stories. Like,
yes, I
was like,
Jack,
I know Adam has that story. I have that story where you're just about to land like a dream gig, and then everyone gets fired, and you're like, damn.
Ross, this one always, every time I say this story, it comes out differently because it's so emotional for me. But I met with Matt Lauer, then I met with the EPs at the Today Show, 20 hours away from getting something. I even got the gift for the people that helped get me the gig. And then just like that, everything came out with Matt Lauer. And I emailed back the producer, and then I never heard anything back from them. The next day I read that he got let go. And just like that, man.
And mine was Entertainment Tonight. Like, I had met with producers. Like, I was supposed to go there after leaving TMZ, and then it just, people got let go, and I didn't get my job. I was like, no.
There are so many factors. That's why any success in this business is a miracle, because there are so many factors in the way that you can't control, you know?
Yeah.
What was the biggest role or thing that you were was that the biggest thing maybe you had that was going to be a game changer in your life, in your career? Like, as close as you were, I mean, The View is a huge show, especially being the first male host. Was that the biggest thing that you were the closest to getting?
You know, yes. And at the time, like, it was not devastating, but it was like, I mean, you know, it was like a few swear words, you know, and then, but then right after that, I mean, that's when Drag Race takes off, you know? So it's funny what life does to you. And who knows? I doubt that I would have lasted very long on that show. And I wonder what the audience, how they would have reacted to a man on that show. And so who knows if that would have worked out. But life has a different plan for you. And I mean, look at the success of Drag Race. This is crazy now. You know, we've won the Emmy 3 years in a row. It's in all these countries all over the world. And I don't know that I would have been on it had I gotten that other gig.
You know the one gig I was actually really disappointed? Hollywood Today Live.
Do
you remember? I don't even know if you remember
Ross
me
was
coming.
on.
Well, I don't know if he remembers me coming in and auditioning. I was there with you and Garcelle, and I had so much fun. And I walked out like I fucking nailed that shit. And then it didn't.
You were great.
And then it didn't happen. And I was so bummed. I was like, this was the perfect gig. I loved it. You guys were so fun. And I just remember laughing like the full hour, and I'd be like, this is a dream gig. And then it didn't happen.
You're so great. And that's the show I wish too that, you know, I had a little more power with that show, because of course you would have been a great fit on that. And I loved, that was a show we did that was like 2 years, daily syndicated show. Garcelle Beauvais and Ali Landry and a bunch of people.
That was a good one.
It was
good.
Great.
You know,
there's been a lot of entertainment news shows or entertainment shows, and most of them I'm not a fan of. But actually, that one, everything from the visual to the show itself, was actually a good show.
Thanks. We got to a real good spot with like a shoestring budget because people really liked it, you know, and that was one of those little passion projects I loved. And talk about a good gig. I mean, I would get there at 7 a.m. We'd be live from 9 to 10, and I'd be like in my car by 10:03 a.m. Like, see you tomorrow. That's the kind of gig, man. A live show like that is the best.
It was a good show. And why do you think that it didn't stick around? Because it was a good show. It was a legitimately good show.
I can tell you why, if you want to get into the nitty gritty behind. I mean, this is a business at the end of the day. And although we actually got really strong ratings, like in big markets, twos in Dallas, we were big in the South. The business structure, there are station groups, right? And station groups own stations. They don't make television. But this station group had decided they wanted to make a show and put it on their channels. Which was the first of its kind and sort of unorthodox, but it's the way they got it on. And then when they merged with a much larger station group conglomerate, they looked at them like, what are you doing? It's like buying a Foot Locker and being like, we don't make shoes, we sell shoes. And so they just ended it.
Wow.
And it was a shame. And it's just because of the way the business structure was set up. So, that's what I mean in this industry. When you get something on the air, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
You, obviously, we're going to get into more, but your book name dropped the really good celebrity stories I usually only tell at happy hour. How do you, based on your life and you're around so many celebrities, and I mean, I know I feel like this because I'm around it so much, because you want to be, I'm excited like you, I'm a pop culture fan, and I don't want to feel like a name dropper and you feel like an asshole when you name drop, but it's just your life, you're excited, you want to tell these stories. How do you avoid just not name dropping, or do you ever feel like an asshole because you do name drop?
Well, so no, I mean, I feel like an asshole all the time, but not because I name drop. I feel like I was thinking about what book I wanted to write next after my first one was about me, but only so interesting, right? About growing up in a farm town, all that. And then I thought, oh God, I have so many great celebrity stories I could tell, but it'd be so name droppy. And then I thought, you know what, just lean into that. That's so hilarious. Just do it. And, I always say no celebrity was harmed in the making of this book. Even the celebs that were kind of awful to me, I kind of make peace with them in the book. And at the end of the day, I am a super fan of pop culture. And the people who follow me are super fans of pop culture. So if I didn't write a book like this, it's almost like telling them that they're different than me. I am just like every fan of this industry. So this book is for them, and I stand by it. It's hilarious. It's not mean, but it certainly doesn't hold back either.
What celeb do you think you run into the most? I mean, right now you're in New York. So how about give me a New York celeb that you feel like you just run in the same circles or the same grocery store? And then I'm curious also with LA.
No, I have to think about it. I always say I don't have any celebrity friends, that I just have normal people, because I'm normal. But then that's not true when I think about it. But so I'm here recently. So I've been doing the Drew Barrymore show just about every day. So I didn't know Drew before this, and now I love her, and she's incredible and exactly how you would imagine her being. what's interesting, so I don't really have an answer of celebrities I run into. I don't
Do
think.
you, when you do run into celebrities, like if you're in LA, is it weird for you to run into celebrities because like some maybe you don't feel like they know you? Because for me, I've interviewed a bunch of these celebrities multiple times, but I feel like they don't know who I am or remember me. So it's like an awkward encounter when you run into them, like, hey, should I go say hi? Should I not if I see him at?
I never go say hi unless I know him, you know, because it's like, you know, if I worked at like a bank and like Jerry was over there, but I'm like, okay, Jerry's fine, but whatever. And I saw him out, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to talk to Jerry. It's my day off. And you know what I'm saying?
So is your rule
nothing
you
wrong with
wait till
Jerry.
they say hi to you if they're a big star?
If I know them, like know them, of course I say hi. But if like I've met them once or I know who they are, it's like I'm not going to just assume they know who I am. So no, I never say anything. No. I'm very different in real life than I am when I have like a microphone in my hand. If I had a microphone and a deadline, bitch, I would be up in their face. Right? But when it's normal life, I'm like, I'm good.
You've been to the Kardashian Christmas party. What is that like? I mean, I think a lot of people are just so curious of what that kind of party is.
It's so weird. You know, they're actually very lovely, very
They're awesome.
lovely people. Yeah. And so, and invested and interesting and interested and all of that stuff. So I got to know them as they were coming up. I mean, I was starting Chelsea lately right when they started, and we all were sort of in that E family. And then they got crazy famous, and I would get invited to the Christmas parties. Couldn't believe it. Every year I got invited. I was like, for again, really? So I would go just because, like, you have to see it. You know, it's Christmas Eve. You want to stay in your pajamas. I get it, but get dressed up and go, because suddenly you're like in line in the buffet with Babyface, right? And then you walk by J-Lo as you go to your table, and then you know, Kanye sitting across from you. It is like insanity, the kind of things you see there. Caitlyn coming down the stairs like right after the Diane Sawyer interview, like the biggest, like the most talked about person in the world. Oh, hi, right there. You're having a conversation, trying to act normal. And then you leave and there's gift bags. Like one year it was, I swear to God, a pizza oven.
What? A pizza
so cool.
oven?
A pizza oven.
That's a
And
great
it's like,
gift.
right, but it's like a huge, so you're like, oh, here you go, pick one up on the walk to your car. It's this huge pizza oven. It's just not normal stuff, you know, but it is sort of normal because they're kind of normal in their way.
What was the food like at their parties?
Thanks for asking. It was beautiful, right? Like a buffet that was delish. But when I talk about like a charcuterie table, like, you know, like if you saw a big dining room table in a house and you'd be like, that's a big dining room table. Twice that big, all meats and cheeses.
Nice.
Just for fun. Yeah. I never left that table. I was always right there.
And then, so do you still get invited?
No.
So
no. I think they slimmed down the list, right? And I think once Chelsea lately went away, I only got like 1 year after that. But I'm still totally friendly with them. And I actually write about them in Name Drop. I write about the Christmas parties in it.
Yeah. Are people what time do they end these parties? Are they like wild or?
Yeah, I don't know. They make it wild. I go to bed early. I live my life like an active senior citizen. You know, I wake up early and I get home.
Oh, it sounds really fun. I mean, based on their Instagram stories, I'm like, this looks like it would be so amazing to go to.
It's interesting to watch. I wish I could be there and not be me. You know, I wish I could just watch it and eavesdrop. But, you know, like when you're me, not to sound ungrateful, but like, I just wish I could watch it and like zoom in on the things I want to zoom in on and pause it and rewind it to see it again. So I'm very much in spectator mode when I'm there.
Who was the most interesting person you met at that party? One of those parties?
I mean, Caitlyn. Caitlyn was interesting. I remember that we had a conversation after Trump won, and we were on a staircase, and she had just done Diane Sawyer, and I was like, "Are you sure that you're supporting him? I mean, I don't know that like he's supporting you." And she was like, "Right? He said he's a different kind of Republican, and I'm going to go there." And she just was all about it. I don't know how that turned out for her, but
yeah, I was going to say, did you have a follow-up conversation?
No, I did not. I would love to, but I did not.
Have you smoked weed with any celebrities?
Yes.
Who was like the coolest one you got to like smoke? Like, oh, this is freaking awesome.
I don't know that you're supposed to smoke and tell.
It's legal there.
But
like a drink.
but I'll tell you one because she's starting like a farm, like a pot farm. So Melissa Etheridge, who I love.
She's a big stoner. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I was at Chelsea's house once, and like I didn't even really do pot. Now I do gummies, but back then I was like, I don't know. But she's like, here you go, and she handed me a joint. And I was like, if Melissa Etheridge hands you a joint, you take it and you smoke it.
Yeah.
So I did. That's just one. I remember I was wearing gold shoes, like gold Nike tennis shoes, and she looked at me. She goes, "Yeah, man, honor your path."
That's funny. I feel like most people like that question comes up, and I think most people like love smoking with Snoop Dogg, right? Like he's just so famous for it that like anyone that has a chance to do it, they're like, this is the best. I'm smoking with Snoop Dogg.
I've been around Snoop Dogg a few times, and I think just contact wise, I was high, but I didn't smoke with him. It just you kind of
just came in the area and you're like, woo.
So, Dax and I want to name a few celebrities with you, and we just want to hear your experiences with them, because we all have experience. So I'll start first. Tom Hanks.
I've never met Tom Hanks. Wait, that's a lie. I just remembered I did. Just a real nice, quick interview one time. But I don't remember what we talked about. I don't remember if it made the piece, but it was at Vanity Fair Oscar party. But Tom Hanks is one of those people who I would love to meet, because I have a feeling he's exactly like you think he is. Don't you think that he's just sort of a nice guy?
That's what
what's so funny? One time, speaking of being high, I was with a buddy of mine. We're in the car on Park Avenue. We're a little stoned. We're smoking a joint. And next, Tom Hanks comes walking by the front of our car, and we just stare at him, and he stares back at us, and he's staring at us for like a long time. We're staring at him as he walks by our car. And it was the trippiest thing. Like, whoa, that was just Tom Hanks. And that
was
in reality, he probably just glanced over, but because you were high, you were like, he was staring at us for a minute long. We made eye contact.
I could have been high. I could have been a homeless guy. I just thought it was Tom Hanks. Who knows?
All right,
here's one more. So,
you going to do another one?
Dax, you go.
I was going to say Lady Gaga.
Oh, well, that's the first chapter in Name Drop. I love Lady Gaga, and I had never met her. And I can give you the story quickly if you would like.
Yeah.
I was covering the Golden Globes for E, and I was up on a platform like with Kelly Osbourne. We're up above the carpet, and it's when Gaga won for American Horror Story, and she was on the red carpet, and we sort of locked eyes. She looked up and locked eyes with me, and it was like for a long time, like Tom Hanks.
Were you also stoned?
No, I was not stoned. Thank you very much. But I was locking eyes, and it was like more than just like a glance and a move, like locked eyes, like she was saying something to me, but not moving her face. And I was like, I'm not looking away until she looks away. I don't understand what's going on. Like, why is she staring at me? And she wasn't blinking anything. And then she was pulled away, and I was like, what was that? What? And then about a year later, I was going into Drag Race season 9. And at that point, I wasn't a producer yet, so I didn't know who was on the show. And they said, Ross, it's Lady Gaga's here. I'm like, what? Oh my God, Lady Gaga. Oh my God. So I walk out, Lady Gaga comes out, and she says hi to Rue and Michelle and everyone. And then she goes, Ross, I need to talk to you. I was like, what did I do? She says, do you remember the Golden Globes? I was, yes, I do.
That's when we had eye sex. I remember.
She goes, do you remember seeing me there? And I was like, yes. She goes, do you remember locking eyes with me? I'm like, yes. She goes, earlier that day, I was so nervous because I'm a singer. I'm not an actress. And what was I doing there? These are movie stars. And I was in the hotel, and I was shaking, trembling with fear. And someone put on the TV, and do you know who I saw? And I was like, me? And she said, you. And do you know what I said? And I was like, whatever it was, I'm sorry. Whatever I said, I'm so sorry. And she goes, no, you said, I just can't wait to see Lady Gaga. And then she turns to her glam squad, and she's like, you were all there, right? And they all nodded. And then she said, so I said out loud, I'm going to go out there and do it for Ross and all the other Rosses in the world. And then she walked out on that red carpet and saw me. And I said, well, were you trying to tell me that when you made eye contact with me? She said, no, I was telling you, thank you. Like, oh, shit. And it was such a reminder of like, you know, when you're on TV, people are listening, and maybe even the people you're talking about are listening. So maybe you should mind what you're saying. And luckily I had something nice about her, you know, of course, because I love her, but it kind of blew me away in a certain way, because I never thought that Lady Gaga would ever see me, let alone sort of need to hear something that I had to say. And it was a neat moment.
That's
so
great
cool.
moment.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, Justin Bieber. So I remember I was covering the Nickelodeon awards, whatever, Kids' Choice, I guess. And Usher was walking down, and I had to get an interview. I think it was for The Insider. And I was like, I got to talk to Usher. And Usher was walking down, and he was like, I'm only talking to people who would talk to my young protege. And I was like, oh my God, they're just going to cut him out. But all right, you know. So I was like, oh, nice to meet. What is it? Bieber? Nice to meet you. Okay, Usher, talk to you. And then all of a sudden, this kid blew up, and I was like, oh my God, that's the kid that was with Usher. And then I've never seen him since. So it turns out my interview didn't matter to his career at all.
What about, I want some big, how about?
And I love his new music, by the way, I have to say. I love
so good.
I'm going to stick with musicians. What about Beyonce?
Oh, yeah. So I did a one-on-one with Beyonce. And I think it was one of the last interviews she ever gave. It was for that movie Obsessed, which I was not obsessed with. But I was obsessed with her. And I remember saying to her, you know, Cher won an Oscar. Madonna won a Golden Globe. What is it with this last name? Like, just do Beyonce. And I just want to say, when's the last time you heard Beyonce Knowles?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. I
I'm
heard.
just saying.
Yeah. So she can thank you for everything.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Adam, let's do one more, because I want to get onto a speed round. I feel like
Sure.
Ross would be the perfect person to do a speed round with.
For sure.
Right.
I'm going to do someone kind of random, someone interesting, someone who I haven't heard from in a while. Fergie.
Ooh, good one. I like that.
Oh, I love Fergie. Yeah, I love her. I want her to go back with Black Eyed Peas, you know? I feel like they're great when they're together. I love her for her solo album. Then she did a song called Milk Money. I love her, and she's really nice. I've had dinner with her before at Chelsea's. But yeah, I don't know why she's not making, I mean, maybe she's got enough money. She's raising kids, you know? I hope she's dating someone hot.
That's the thing. I'm a huge Black Eyed Peas fan, and she like just disappeared. I don't get it. She's so talented. Where is she at? Maybe she just was like, a lot of people just get tired of the spotlight. I feel like they get so famous and so much attention, and then they're just like, you know, I just want to go make my wine in the vineyards and like be done with it.
And I think when you have that much money, you know, if you come out with an album, it doesn't do well, you're like, why am I working this hard? You know, I'll just be at my houses.
Yeah, exactly. With my kids. I'll hang out with my family rather than everyone else's kids around the world. Okay, so I want to get onto our speed round. This is probably like the most fun thing we do on the podcast is we go speed round. You just say the first name that pops into your mind, celebrity-wise. And
okay. I'm going to close my eyes while we do this because I don't want to overthink it. Okay. All right? I take speed round very seriously. Okay, go.
All right, Adam, you start it off.
All right, most fun celebrity.
Most fun. Kelly Osbourne.
All right. The person you see getting the most drunk at parties.
No.
How about the funnest drunk?
Oh God. Chelsea Handler.
Okay.
Most intimidating celebrity.
Oh God. Dolly Parton.
Funniest celebrity.
Oh shit. Oh my God.
Close your eyes because you're thinking too much.
Oh, I'm thinking. RuPaul.
Okay.
Rudest celebrity.
Oh God, no. Oh, come on, man. Oh man. Read the book.
Matt LeBlanc, we got it.
All right. Most generous.
Rosie O'Donnell, hands down.
Oh, okay.
Most fake, like they're always performing.
You know, in a certain way, I would say I'm not calling her fake, but like Dolly Parton. I've interviewed her twice, and I still have no clue who she is. There's this big persona going on that is perfected and fabulous and interesting and gorgeous, but like I have no idea who she is. And if you really ask yourself, do you have any idea really who Dolly Parton is? Mm-hmm. No.
Okay. All right. I like it. Best looking in person.
Tandy Newton is like the most gorgeous person I've ever seen in my entire life up close.
Okay.
Biggest flirt.
maybe like a Colin Farrell.
Okay. What about the either worst or hardest to interview?
Katy Perry is the hardest to interview because she wants the joke. Katy Perry, Heidi Klum, very interesting. You'd be like, if you say like, "What color is the sky?" They'll be like, "Where's the sky? Is it below me or is it? I don't know where the sky is." And you're like, "Just it's blue. The answer's blue. It's not a joke here." Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Has she ever farted during one of your interviews?
No, never. Heidi Klum did once wax my arm at the Golden Globes, which is a weird thing to say.
That is really weird.
Yeah, she did. I don't know why. We had a gift bag, and in it was a waxing kit, and she just took it out and put it on my arm and like waxed it right there.
Funny. No, we had Michael Yo on. What was it, last week, Adam, or the week before? And Michael Yo's like, Katy Perry ripped the biggest fart after our interview because it was her end joke for their interview. It was like, "Are the cameras off?" And she just let one rip. And apparently she's like a serial farter.
More. That makes me like her more. I feel like I'd be friends with her, but interviewing her is tough. She wants control.
Okay.
Best to interview.
God, I feel like I'm being repetitive. Best to interview. I interviewed a few times Betty White. And I love talking to her because she has a smile. She's someone who loves show business. And so it's like a joy. She's never over it when she's talking to you. She's grateful. She's got a great perspective. And that makes me really happy. I'll tell you, I do not want to emulate her. I will be retired any second now. But I love that she is like in it for the long haul and so grateful every step of the way. I love her.
I mean, can you think of anyone? I love Betty White. I mean, universally loved. Don't you think Betty White is up there? It's like Tom Hanks, Betty White, and like those are the top two actually.
It's like and puppies and kittens.
Yep. I love it. Okay, I think are we good with that, Adam? I think that was a good fun round.
I think that was good. Yeah, we're good. So how much you enjoy being on RuPaul's Drag Race?
Oh, I love that show. I started on it in season 7. I'd been a guest judge a few times before. And it was so fun to see the show that had been so good in its little niche, just explode and become a worldwide phenomenon. And it's been incredible to be a part of that, to really feel it and be like, you guys, is this happening? And to see it and then to be nominated for Emmys, I actually got to go inside. I covered them for, 17 years before I got to go inside. Mm-hmm. That was fun. And then to start winning them was like, what the hell? Like what? To be on that stage and think this is what people see when they're on this stage. It's mind blowing, But also, we're making great television. We're making the kind of television show I wish I had as a kid. I would watch television and certainly not see anyone like me represented. I remember being a kid growing up in a farm town in the early 90s and in late 80s and thinking like, what does it mean to be a gay grown-up person? Because I don't see one. I don't know what a gay grown-up looks like. And now kids are watching drag queens and they're 10 years old. And the whole idea is the whole message of the show is about being yourself and celebrating, and as Ru says, using every crayon in the coloring book. And I think it's an amazing show because of that. And it's also nice to be on a hit show.
Yeah. It's crazy how big drag has become, man.
Where do you keep your Emmys, by the way?
Don't you worry about that. I actually...
I'm always curious where people... Is it like a mantle? Is it the bookshelf? Is it next to their bed?
I like when people are on the news, and they have won Emmys and they have them behind them.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Okay, I get it. I see it. It's acknowledged. Understood.
I'm just waiting for one of our guests to be like, oh, it's just in the bathroom. It's no big deal, but I keep it next to the soap.
No bathrooms. I'll tell you, this year is the first year being I've been just a judge on the show. So I'm a producer now on the show, and season 13 is coming out. It starts January 1st on VH1, and actually be simulcast on MTV, MTV2, Pop TV, and the CW. And this season, I think we shot in quarantine starting in July, and it was one of the first productions back in. And there were so many hurdles to go through. It felt like we are on Mars. We're all bubble wrapped from each other. There's glass on the plexiglass between us. on the judges panel. But I think about if you put this season in a little time capsule, we'll always know that it was a season we shot during Corona. I can't wait for people to see it.
That's awesome.
What is the tough lesson you learned in the industry? Like a lesson you learned the hard way?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and I think it's a great question. I was so fortunate to start with the best of the best. I started on Leno, and that level is very high. That's usually where people try to reach. And so in a way, I sort of took that for granted because I didn't know any better. I just thought that was the status quo. And so I was grateful I was there. That's how I learned to work. And as soon as I moved on, I realized that people don't always operate at that level. And so one thing I wish I would have known that when I was there, because it's something that I reference daily in my life, what I learned working with those people. So I wish I could get them together, all of them together again, and just say thank you, because that training ground has proven to be invaluable to me.
That's a good answer. Yeah, that's cool.
And then
what haven't you done?
I was going to say, we haven't mentioned the podcast. That was the one thing I wanted to talk to you about. The
podcast.
Straight Talk. For someone that hasn't tuned in, what are they going to get when they tune in to listen to your podcast?
It's so bizarre. It's so weird. It's so funny. I started my podcast when my show on E! got canceled for reasons that were tough. It was pretty shitty. And so in that experience, I found it very difficult to having so many people between me and the audience. I was used to just sort of making jokes, and they made the air, and then you're on to the next. But this was literally so many people between what I wanted to do and what people saw. And I was so frustrated with that. I decided to make something where nobody could ever be between me and the audience. And that's the great thing about podcasts is because really when you put your headphones in, it's me talking to you directly. So I started it with no intention of making money, just to almost be like a passion project. And then we just celebrated 6 years, 350 episodes. Wow. And it found this audience. I don't even promote it on my social media. I don't. It really is my sanity project. But it's got this humongous following. And it is completely bizarre. We have huge stars stop by, and then we have like 5 listening members who I call the loony bin, like Howard Stern's Whack Pack, that are members. So sometimes it may be a one-on-one interview that's with Meghan McCain that's very deep, or it may be the loons competing in like a loon idol contest where they're singing. You never know what it's going to be, and it's just what makes me laugh. What I think is fun and interesting. So
that's cool, man.
Pretty weird.
Listen, you can check out Ross at the on RuPaul's Drag Race. You can listen to his podcast, Straight Talk with Ross Mathews. Read both of his books, but I love the second one that just recently came out. It sucked because you couldn't even do the book tour.
I know. I had 30 cities doing stand-up, an hour and a half, 90-minute show, and I got to 23 of the 30 cities, and then shut down, man.
But the book is awesome. Names out the really good celebrity stories I usually only tell at happy hour. It's fun. It's funny. It's interesting. If you love celebs, you'll love the book. Keep up with him on Twitter and Instagram at Hello Ross. Ross, you're a great dude, man. It's cool to hear your story, and we're fans with you. So when you humanize celebrities like we try to do in this podcast, and it's fun to keep up with you.
Great. Hey, ditto. And I'm so proud of you guys. You keep this up, all right? And I was, when they asked me, do you want to do it? I was like, are you kidding me? I love you guys. So thank you for even caring.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It's always nice when we get an ecstatic response from reaching out to someone's rep, and they're like, yeah, they would love to come on. To us, that's a nice compliment.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you. And stay safe. Okay, guys?
You